Hello everyone and welcome back to the Heads Up Zone at Startup 2021. I hope you're all having an incredible day so far. It's very strange, right? But now we'll be having lunch. Usually our head of events would bring that round to everyone. So I might have to do that myself this year. But we have a very exciting panel actually with us today. And it's all around taking care of your mental health when running a business. And that seems to be the kind of pattern and the topics which are rising today sort of in our panels today, which is exciting. So we've got Alex Wilding, co-founder, Vidicrew and founder of Founder Therapy. We've got Karolina Ba, CEO and founder of, I don't know how to pronounce this, Karolina. Yeah, nice. And we've got Federica Trimarchi, founder of the Mood Club as well. So let's start off with some intro. So Alex, did you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. Hello, everybody. It's very surreal not being able to see any of you, but hello anyway. Yeah, my name's Alex Wilding. I'm the co-founder of Vidicrew. So we're an app and we enable people to capture video moments of any occasion. So we do a lot of weddings where everybody films a wedding with our app and then we edit those videos into a film. Been going for about 4 years now. So I've learned all the trials and tribulations of running a startup. And on the side of that, I'm also a qualified BACP qualified counsellor, and I have a real passion for mental health and supporting people with their mental well-being. And I also know how tough it is to be a founder. So in the lockdown, I launched an initiative called Founder Therapy. You can find out more about that at foundertherapy.io. And basically the concept is to bring founders and entrepreneurs together on an online call. And I facilitate the session to help them support each other with their mental well-being. So not only can they relate to each other with entrepreneurship, but they can also learn therapeutic techniques and skills to support each other in a much better way and get help for themselves as well. So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Amazing. Thanks, Alex. And Karolina, tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So my name is Karolina and I'm the founder of THEENK TEA. THEENK TEA is a herbal tea program designed to naturally support your brain function and mental well-being. So each box is basically divided into 3 functional blends for mornings, afternoons, and evenings. And yeah, I launched the business just a few months before the pandemic. So late November 2019. So we only had a few short months before everything changed. And I actually launched the business because I used to suffer from depression and anxiety. So that's my background. So I was prescribed antidepressants and I really didn't like the way they made me feel in the long term. So I tried to look for something natural. And yeah, years later, I actually founded THEENK TEA.
Amazing, Karolina. Thank you. And Fede, tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Fede, and I'm the founder of the Mood Club, a business inspiring people to get into a positive mindset. My background is in mental health. So I've been working for nonprofit organizations in the mental health sector for 8 years, and then I wanted to set up my own business and provide people with some fun and practical tools to. So I've designed a series of products called Mood Cards, containing small activities to embrace positive habits, and then a series of online courses focused on becoming more confident and resilient when facing daily challenges and negativity.
Thank you. So today with us, you can drop questions in whilst we're discussing numerous things, and you can also connect with our speakers as well on Enterprise Nation or their own platforms as well. All right, so let's get started. So first question to yourself, Alex. So small business owners can often kind of experience self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Do you have any tips on what someone can do to sort of deal with this and overcome these feelings?
Yeah, good question. So self-doubt and imposter syndrome, I'd say that they're very common for founders, especially. I mean, ultimately, we're taking on the world. It's how it feels a lot of the time. We're not going into a company and getting everything that we need, you know, to support us, we're taking everything on from scratch. So, you know, my advice is just go easy on yourself and be rational about what you're doing. You know, what you're doing is challenging and overwhelming probably at times. So you're bound to have doubts. That's one of the tests of being an entrepreneur, is whether you can keep going through that. So I guess my main piece of advice is don't try and fight it. I wouldn't try and get rid of doubt, self-doubt and imposter syndrome if that's what's happening for you. Try to get in touch with it, breathe deeply and stay with it and keep going. You know, just see if you've really got the motivation to keep going through it. Yeah, don't be afraid of it and get to know it and stay with it. It may be, for me personally, what drives me is actually fear. A lot of the time I'm terrified of not doing stuff. So I'd say, you know, it's those horrible feelings that kind of keep me going. So breathe deep and be rational. Really say to yourself, you know, imposter syndrome is all about feeling like you're a fraud. So I go to like investor meetings or something like that, and I often feel like that. I wonder if I'm being perceived as a fraud, or if I'm ripping somebody off, or if I don't know what I'm doing. But before I do my best to take a breath and be rational about that and say to myself, am I a fraud? What have I done to get to where I am today? And the answer is always, I've done a lot and I know what I'm doing. I don't know everything, but I know enough to be here and to be proud of who I am. So just be rational. Just try to remember it's an irrational thought. Your mind's just getting carried away with something, and breathe with it and just keep reminding yourself that, and you'll be fine. But the biggest mistake I think people make is when they try to just get rid of it as if it doesn't exist and they're fine. You know, it's okay to not be okay, but just keep moving forward.
Amazing. Thank you, Alex. I feel like I hear that every day, like since Jan 2021. It's okay to not be okay, but it's, you know, it's such simple advice, but it, especially for founders in this moment, you know, this third lockdown is very different to the first one. So dealing with these emotions and, you know, embrace the fear. Don't just, you know, turn around and be like, oh my God, what do I do today? Laura has said she's very excited for this session, such an important topic. Welcome, Laura. Nigel Honey, given some advice, don't listen to doubters. And Laura says thank you for the advice as well. Karolina, over to you. So, I mean, it's been a particular turbulent time for all small business owners. How have you found it, and how have you dealt with the pressure of running a business during these times as well?
So for me, as I mentioned, I basically just started a few months before the pandemic. So of course, I had a lot of big plans for last year that I wanted to do with the business. So we obviously weren't able to do majority of that. I wanted to go to wellness events, trade shows, and everything's been rescheduled or canceled. So I had to adapt. I had to change. I think this is the word of the year. Pivoting and adapting, but it's so true. I think I learned, maybe it's a wrong word, but I had to adapt and have that mental flexibility to actually change my plans, all of them. So that's often not that easy. And because I used to suffer from depression and anxiety, I think many people who also did will probably back me up on that, that sometimes when things change or they don't go according to plan, or sometimes there are just those small triggers that can put you back in that place again. So I think that was extremely important for me to make sure that I don't go that route. So I started very early when the first lockdown hit. I started to have my own routine. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm okay to run my business as well. So yeah, I think this was difficult, but to be honest, like I found having the business to be actually a very positive thing for me, because I know many people, for example, they were furloughed or they couldn't have a job anymore, and many people were just, many of my friends even told me, like, I don't know what to do with my time anymore, because I'm like, we're sitting at home, we don't know what to do. So for me, that was a really good thing that I had my business, because it was the same. I never have that free time, to be honest. There's always something to do. and that kept me away from thinking about all the bad things and all the negative things of what's actually happening. So I think this was really good for me. Of course, now it's a bit different as there is another lockdown again, and the weather is as it is. So I think it's a very difficult time for many of us. But yeah, I think we've learned a lot last year, all of us. So yeah, I would say it had good moments, bad moments, but yeah, I think adapting and having that mental flexibility was everything for me.
Amazing, thank you, Karolina. And it's interesting you talk about lack of time when people are in their 9 to 5 job. I remember this time last year at Startup 2020, a lot of people everything was a side hustle, and they were working 5 till 9 on their passion projects, and what got in the way were their jobs. So in every sort of instance, when we do surveys, what we're finding are new entrepreneurs who are joining Enterprise Nation. They are the individuals who have been unfortunately put on furlough, but we have some incredible stories of people who have started drop shipping on Amazon, or that niggling feeling of starting a business. They've just done it in their first week of furlough. So yeah, it's very positive, and yeah, turning a negative into a positive is always good. So a few comments in the chat. So Nigel says balance is the key. You need both work and home balance. I totally agree. Janice said you can't look after your clients if you are not looking after yourself. Again, agreed. Thank you, Janice. And over to yourself, Fede. So you set up the Mood Club to inspire people to get into a positive mindset. Can you tell us a bit more about what a positive mindset is exactly and the benefits of this?
Yeah. So I always like to start by saying what a positive mindset isn't, because I feel sometimes people might mistake having a positive mindset with being blindly optimists, or just, being happy all the time. Instead, having a positive mindset actually means being very much aware of the challenges and the negatives that we might face in our lives, and also our negative emotions. But instead of seeing them as obstacles to, preventing us to actually do the things that we want to do in both our personal and professional life. Having a positive mindset means that you are able to go through those challenges or negative moments and think about to make the most out of it. So really focusing on the bright side and what you can learn from them and how you can grow. And so I think, of course, there are many benefits of having a positive mindset, but I would say mainly it's all about feeling calmer, and also being able to be more rational in making decisions and facing difficult times. So that can have, of course, positive repercussions also on the type of relationships you have, the way you feel about work, the way you feel about stress as well. So it makes everything feel a bit more manageable, I'd say. It's definitely something you have to work on a little bit to develop. And this is what my business is all about, kind of sharing little tips or tools or exercises you can do to kind of practice that type of mindset. But so it is a bit of hard work, but it's definitely worth it, because in the end, it makes you able to really face all negativity and bumps and obstacles with a positive spirit.
Amazing. And Fede, we've had this question quite a lot actually, so I thought I'd go in there straight away. What sort of, and I'll come to Alex and Karolina as well, what apps or what one app would you say, or podcast, if you do listen to podcasts, has sort of helped you lift your mood during lockdown?
Wow, I have to say, as Karolina, I've been super busy in lockdown, because I actually left. I had another job in a mental health organization, and I left it the week before lockdown started in London. So I was really happy I could finally focus full time on my business. But I have now a 2-year-old. So of course I spent last year trying to juggle the business and childcare and everything. So I didn't have much time to listen to podcasts or anything, but I think I've used very much in the past years as well, Headspace, which I really like, which is an app helping being more mindful and meditate a little bit. And it's very nice because I think it's something that everyone can embrace without being particularly, you know, familiar with meditation. And it's just about something that I talk about a lot. It's just about taking a few minutes each day to just focus on yourself and try to decompress from all the noise and the stress and the anxiety and everything else. So yeah, that would be my number one recommendation.
And Alex, top app or top podcast that you would suggest?
I had time to think about that, so I'm lucky. I'd say, I'm quite surprised to say this, but Joe Wicks is actually, I know he's just everywhere, but I did his 90-day plan, and
Nice.
he just seems to keep me upbeat and wanting to get fit. And he's also very open about his mental health, which I like, a fellow man. And yeah, I like that. But also for me, I've been exploring Buddhism quite a lot. So I don't know if there's any apps, but I log on to a lot of Buddhist talks. It's just because I've had the time to do it now. And actually, personally, that's been helping me a lot. Just YouTube, Buddhist teachers, the London Buddhist Centre, personally, I look at quite a lot.
Amazing. It's a good book called Buddhism for Busy People. I felt like I could relate with that when I was reading it on YouTube. Karolina, what about yourself?
So yeah, I had even more time to think about that. I would say a podcast I really, really like is Jay Shetty's On Purpose. So this is definitely one of my favorites. Basically, every episode is different. It's about something else. It gives you tools that you can actually use and exercises. So it's not just talking about something. It actually gives you ways to deal with a specific situation or improve specific areas of your life, which is really, really great. There are also a lot of different guests on the podcast who share their experiences. So I really like that. And not a podcast or an app, but there is an amazing YouTube channel, Yoga with Adrian. So if anyone's into yoga or they want to explore a little bit, I would definitely recommend that. She's doing a 30-day challenge now, I think, and I'm taking part as well every year, which is one of those things. Yeah, it's really great.
Love it. Yoga by Adrian is actually a weekly team event at Enterprise Nation.
Really?
So, we haven't managed to get our founder on it yet, but yeah, that's the aim by March. Question for yourself, Alex. So it can feel very lonely being a small business owner, especially during these difficult times. Do you have any advice on ways of combating sort of feelings of loneliness and isolation?
So yeah, like, to be honest, my answer. Oh, hi, Paul.
Thank you.
Cool. Should I crack on? Yeah. Continue? Yeah. So my answer to that is that entrepreneurship and it is lonely. I just don't think there's a quick solution to it. So before you go into it, you need to realize that you're going to be spending a lot of time by yourself with your own thoughts. You know, it's not for people who can't do that. But the reason why I started Founder Therapy is because of exactly that. It's a lonely journey, and most founders are the only people who can really relate to what you're doing. But they're all busy. They're all like, I've been on accelerator programs or co-working spaces, and every time I kind of cross paths with someone in a corridor or whatever, we have a quick chat, but the two of us have just got to be somewhere, you know, usually. So find people to talk to and allocate time for it. And that's why I've started Founder Therapy. So what I do is on the Wednesday that I host it, the last Wednesday of every month it is now, from 6 till 7, I get people on and I say to them, okay, phones off, everything off now. We're just going to drop and get out of your left brain, no strategy, none of that. We're going to just engage a bit more with the whole body, the right brain stuff, and really connect on a different level to what we normally do. So I'd say find people who can do that and allocate time for it. Make sure you connect with people on a different level to left brain strategic thinking. But it's not easy to find, and to be honest, that's why I've seen a bit of a gap, and that's why I've started Founder Therapy. So come to that. Again, foundertherapy.io. I'm going to help connect entrepreneurs on there. But yeah, and also if you're just starting out, before you get going, what I'd recommend is to find your tribe, find your community, and build from there. So I've noticed that on my journey, I've moved around a lot. So I was on accelerator program to accelerator program, co-working spaces. And I found that really difficult because I've taken me about a year to really connect with people. And then I've had to move somewhere else and again and again. I'd recommend that people, find that tribe first if they can, and then build within that, and make sure you've got people there who are going to be with you along your journey and you there for them. I just think there needs to be more emphasis on supporting each other in all of this. We're all the kind of Western view is very much fend for yourselves and make it work. But I don't subscribe to that. I just think we've got to make more time to support each other and therefore help ourselves as well. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's the best I've got.
I love it, Alex. Find your tribe. It's so important in these times. And Laura as well, too much left brain going on sometimes in the comments. Paul, welcome. We were having some technical issues, but it's good to see your face in our panel. Did you want to do a quick intro to our guests as well? Just a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, sure. Right. So my name's Paul Durrant from PDT Sales Consultancy. Don't you just love tech, eh? So hopefully you can hear me. Right. So I'm a sales and entrepreneurship specialist. I use my 30 years experience in sales to help businesses sell better and sell more. And I've been fortunate enough to work with some very successful business owners and entrepreneurs over the last decade. So I use their experience to help small business owners be more innovative and creative in how they do business. Fitting in with today's talk, I'm also an EFT coach. I'm a qualified EFT, emotional freedom technique, or you might know it as tapping, which is a self-help therapy technique that involves acupressure and psychology. So you can use tapping to actually help with stress and anxiety. And I use it as it's a tool in my toolbox to help the clients I work with who are perhaps feeling stressed and anxious either about sales or business ownership. So that's basically me in a nutshell.
Lovely. Thank you, Paul. And I'll hit you with your first question as well. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who are feeling the pressure to succeed with their business at the moment?
Yeah, well, obviously, you've got to be realistic and pragmatic because, what's happening now is a once in 100-year event. It's unprecedented. So, nobody is immune to this, even these supposed industries that are recession proof. They use staff that can catch COVID and have to isolate. Everybody's affected by this pandemic. So be realistic, maybe throttle back your ambitions because of what's happened and what's going to, the market's going to be stubborn and sluggish certainly for the next 3 to 6 months. So you've got to be realistic about your expectations. But I think one of the mistakes that a lot of small business owners is they see somebody else's success and they think that that's a universal success everyone should aim at. And it's not. That's their success. Your success is different to theirs, and you need to understand what that looks like. And if you don't really understand that, my advice would be go back to your business plan, the thing that you wrote when you originally started your business and you threw in the back of a drawer and you haven't seen it for years. Resurrect that, revisit your purpose, understand why you're in business. And generally people are in business for one of 3 reasons or a combination. They either want to make an empire, they want to make a difference or make a living. So you understand where you sit amongst that. And then you've got kind of a vision for that success, then build a plan to achieve that success by chunking it down and putting in realistic task and a timetable to achieve that. But just be open-minded, be pragmatic, recognize what you can influence, what's in your control and what you can't, and don't waste your nervous energy on the stuff that's out of your control.
Amazing. Thank you, Paul. And to Karolina, so as a small business owner, self-care is very important if you're going to avoid burnout and keep your business running. So do you have any tips on how small business owners can practice self-care?
Yes, when it comes to burnout, I think it's a very common thing. I think everyone suffers from that from time to time. And for me, the key is not to give in entirely, because that can basically destroy your business and make you lose your passion for it. So I would say taking breaks from the business is extremely important. So not only day to day, of course, taking breaks every day is very important, but I would say longer breaks, like once a week, just a day for yourself, or once a month, a few days completely away from the business, just doing something else, a change of an environment. I think this is extremely helpful. Also, I think everyone should have something outside of their business. Either it can be a part-time job, or like a hobby, or another passion, or just something else you can do, so you don't think about the business all the time. I've had those times when I would wake up in the middle of the night and just thinking, oh my God, I didn't do that, I didn't reply to that email, or just that anxiety can take over. So I think just having something where you can release that stress, release that emotion, just do something different, take your mind entirely off the business, is actually really good. And a final tip I would say is also find out what motivates you. So for me, I've noticed that talking to other inspiring entrepreneurs, or just attending events like this one, or other events that actually make me very motivated, because I learned so much. I talk to other people, I see that everyone's also struggling. I think this is very important. So it doesn't have to be that for you, but whatever it is, just you have to find that thing that can motivate you and use it wherever you need it.
Nice one. Thank you, Karolina. I think everyone's loving walking at the moment as a past hobby, to get away from their desk for about 10 minutes. And to Fede as well. So all of us can have times when negativity hits. Before we started, I sort of said, lockdown 3 feels a lot harder than the first lockdown. Do you have any top tips on how someone can deal with and manage negativity in a healthy way?
Yeah. Well, I actually designed an online class which is all about this. So how to turn negativity around when negativity hits, and that can happen every day. And I think I think the best tip I can share is probably something you can apply both in your personal and professional life, and also when running a business, is about looking at what you might consider mistakes or failures as actually opportunities to learn something about yourself, or to grow as a person and a professional. This doesn't mean, of course, that you're not allowed to struggle when negativity hits, because of course that's normal and human, and is also, I think, is also somehow useful. But then I think the best way to kind of overcome negativity is to think about the way it is having a positive impact on yourself. So for example, of course, this past year has been a quite difficult and stressful one, but focusing on the fact that you might have learned something about yourself, that you might have grow as a person or became stronger, and you can apply the same in any given situation. If you're running a business and you feel like you've made a mistake, or I don't know, you went to a job interview and you completely blanked on asking a couple of questions, you might feel like a failure, or you can stop and say, actually, how can I turn this around? How can I make sure that this is actually teaching me a lesson that I can value in the future in order to not make the same mistake, for example.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Fede. And Paul, I've got a question for yourself, actually, and it's something that I tend to struggle with as well, especially at the moment, and it's switching off from work. And also, individuals probably on this chat, they have numerous side hustles. So 9 till 5, you've got your day job, 5 till 9, you've got your side hustle, which is incredibly exciting. But you can't always, switch off, because where we used to spend that time on the commute, where, you'd listen to a podcast, read a book, etc., you now find yourself, when you're about to sit down, you're like, well, let me just quickly check my emails. I might be missing something that can't wait until tomorrow. What are your tips for sort of switching off and having that real firm, work life and social life kind of balance?
Yeah, I mean, there's a new phrase been coined by this pandemic. It's called Blur's Day, and it means that everything blurs into one. So that's not just the days of the week, but that can be sort of your work life and your home life, because we're all working from home. So if you're fortunate enough to have a separate space where you can do your work in a spare bedroom or whatever, and then you can close the door on that, that's great to have. But obviously not everybody's got that. So at least maybe think about packing away your tech, de-teching, close the laptop, set a timeline when you're not going to be answering those emails there, and properly distract yourself, whether it's spending time with your partner to find out about their day, whether it's making the evening meal, or going for a walk, doing some exercise, that's really important. I tend to do mine in the morning. Some people like to do that in the evening, but it's really important just to, switch off from work and try and do something to distract yourself from your work, because otherwise, you're going to have everything whirring around there. It's going to keep you awake at night, and it's going to impact your mental health as well. So having that detachment, some people find it difficult. It's so important. You've got to try and build that in some way, shape or form. And one of the industries that's done well in this pandemic, the companies that build those garden rooms where you can actually create a home office in your garden if you can't even, have the space potentially in your house. But not everybody, as I said, has the affordability of a garden as well. So it's, make the time. You might feel pressured to keep plugging away at your business, but you need that time to defrag your mind and take a step away. And sometimes when you've taken a step away, the problems you were worrying about don't seem so big, and you can have a bit more clarity in working through what's troubling you. The old saying is you can't see the wood for the trees. So step away from the forest, and then you'll have a bit of clarity.
Love that. Step away from the laptop, guys. Michael's actually just said, and this is the one thing I love about virtual events, because usually in the audience, questions are right at the end, and when you're talking about something, it comes out of your head. But Michael said, and thank you for saying this as well, I became mental health ambassador after suffering from depression over 7 years. For me, Kaido, I hope I pronounced that right, Japanese archery and CrossFit are the best antidepressants. Amazing, thank you. And this is a question for all of you now. Alex, I'll start off with yourself. If someone in the audience was looking to start doing maybe just one thing on a daily basis to improve their mental health, what would you suggest this be, or where should they start?
On a daily basis, I mean, first of all, I'd say it's for me to kind of improve your mental health tends to be a longer term commitment. So you can't do something for a couple of days and hope it's going to make a difference. But I don't know, if it's a daily basis and I had to choose one thing, it would be meditation. I've been doing that for, I've been doing it on and off for years, but the last 2-3 years I've managed to stick to it, and I make sure I do at least 10 minutes a day. Recently, I've started doing it twice a day. I've got the benefits from doing one in the morning and one in the evening. And I'd recommend that, actually. It really keeps your practice up. But yeah, and for that, I started with an app called Waking Up by Sam Harris. I really liked that. I like him and the fact that he had some kind of science to it as well. So that would be the main thing I'd recommend, but also community, I think is really important. Again, like I said before, make sure you've got people around you, on a day-to-day basis, even if you're on the phone. Like obviously right now it's difficult, but just make sure you got people who are on this journey with you. And like I say, that's why I like the idea of bringing entrepreneurs together, because you can support each other. Like they can support you, you support them, and you both get a lot from that. So yeah, 2 things I'd say on a daily basis is try to stay in touch with your community and try to meditate.
Thank you, Alex. We're meditating twice a day. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina, same question to yourself.
Meditation is definitely amazing. But something else I would say, as you said before, going for walks is very, very on top now. So I would add something to that. So I think going outside is very important, especially now that we're working from home and the weather, as I was saying, is not amazing. So it's very easy to just say, oh, I'm not going out today. But really do that and go outside, take that 15-20 minute walk every day. And also what I do are mindful walks. So Obviously, if we're in the same area all the time and we're taking the same route every day, it can become just boring, and you may think that there's nothing else to it. But if you start walking mindfully and actually pay attention to the quality of the air, the temperature, everything that's going on around, and pay attention to your breath as well, I think this is a very good grounding technique. It can help you become more mindful, and it can help you distress as well. So I think this is a really good thing you can do every day, and get some fresh air as well.
Of course. And Con's just said as well, walking your dog or just taking time with the dog. I wish I had a dog, Con, but yeah. And Fede, same question to yourself.
Yeah, I think as we basically all said already in this, in this chat, is definitely making time to just switch off the noise and do something for yourself for just a few minutes a day. But I also really like the idea of each day kind of set something to look forward to for the next day. It can be as simple as, thinking about having a nice indulgent breakfast in the morning, or maybe tackling first one task in your small business that is going to give you satisfaction, or planning to call a friend. It can be as simple as that, but really having something when you go to bed at night to look forward to do the next day. I think it really works well in terms of keeping your spirit up.
Great advice. And usually now, I mean, the thing is, we appreciate the smaller things in life. So even just like talking to a friend the next day is like usually a social thing on my calendar for the week. So yeah, it's crazy how times have changed. And Paul, same question to yourself as well.
Yeah, everything that everybody said is really good advice there, and just putting all that together, having yourself a little well-being plan, I think would definitely benefit. But the one thing I would say is to do physical exercise, because we know it's linked to cognitive function. So if you're in good physical health, you sleep, you're having a good night's sleep, you're staying hydrated, that means you're going to be able to function mentally at a much better level, a more optimum level. So find that time to, as Karolina said, do a bit of ecotherapy, go outside, just if you're doing a standard walk, Chris Packham recommended this on Winter Watch. Start to listen out for noises, sounds that you would have been blocking out on your standard walk there, and just start to take in some of the nature around you. And it can make you feel very uplifted, even just doing that same walk, by tuning in your senses and understanding and listening to what's around you. But it could be Tai Chi, it could be any of those sorts of complementary or meridian-based energy type sessions, a pastime, a hobby, anything to distract, quieten your mind, and just to give you that reward. Again, that was mentioned as well as earlier. That's important there. Just don't beat yourself up, and just say well done occasionally and treat yourself. And that's going to help keep you in a more positive state of mind as well.
Thank you, Paul. And final question to all of you, and Alex, we'll start off with yourself again. So 1 in 5 adults in the UK started a business this year, or want to start as well. What would be your top piece of advice for anyone in the audience today thinking about starting a new business and becoming their own boss? I mean, all of you know it's not the easiest thing, definitely ups and downs every day. What would your advice be?
Yeah, I think I touched on it earlier. I think I mentioned it in a couple of the things I've said already, but I guess just brace yourself. I'm not saying it's going to be really difficult for everyone, but it's going to be a challenging journey, and it's going to feel quite lonely at times. So if you're going to take it on, I'd really suggest that you know your why. I'm sure people know the book by Simon Sinek. Know why you're doing what you're doing before you really get stuck into it. Think carefully about that. You might have a business idea that feels right to you, but really, really dig deep about why you're doing it. Is it to make loads of money? Is it to make a difference? Is it to, I don't know, just really be sure of your why, and be comfortable with it, and go forward with that. And another piece of advice I always give is fail fast. I know that sounds a bit, I don't know if that sounds negative, but statistically, a lot of it depends on your ambitions, I guess, but a lot of us fail at what we do. So if it's not going to work, you're better off finding out sooner than later. So don't be afraid to just get something out there. Don't try and perfect your logo and your brand and everything from the start. What I'd say is get it out there as soon as possible and validate that there's a demand for it. So, you know, I don't know what your idea is, but just start testing it out with a few people first, then test it out with a few people you don't know. So first of all, maybe some people you do know. Try to get as much kind of neutral feedback as you can. And once you're satisfied that there is definitely a demand for this and people want it, then it's pretty likely it's going to work. So just kind of do those things first before you really dive into this, because like I said at the start, it is a challenging journey. And once you get going, it can become a bit like betting in that it's very hard to stop. Like you get so far, it's very hard to just let go of it. We do get emotionally attached to what we do, whether we want to or not. We put the hours in. So yeah, the further down the line you go, the harder it is to just let go of it. So yeah, that's the best advice I've got, really.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, very good advice. Go in depth in the why and fail fast, of course. And Karolina, same question for yourself.
Yes, so Alex said earlier as well about building your tribe, and I think this is something extremely important. So just finding your people and finding people that will be able to support you. And I know it's not always easy, but events such as this, or for example, Facebook groups, like for me, I'm still in the wellness space and in the food and drink space. So there are several groups on Facebook that I belong to, and the help there and the people I've met, it's just amazing. And I think this is so important, especially when you're starting out, just to sign up to those groups, just talk to people, drop them private messages. You know, many of us, like many people, everyone, I think, is very helpful. They would love to chat to you and tell you what they think you should do and give you advice and help you out. I think this is really important. And another piece of advice I would say is trust your gut. So there will be a lot of different things that people will be advising you on, and you ultimately you will make every decision as a founder. So remember to trust your gut, because it's very easy to just give in and you know, just get lost in all the noise. But ultimately, you know why you started and what you want to achieve, and you will know what's good for you and your business and what isn't.
Thank you, Karolina. One piece of advice our founder always says when we're making a big decision, especially during these times, is sleep on it and come back to me tomorrow. So I think that's always a good way to look at things during these times. Fede, yourself, same question.
Yeah, so as Alex and Karolina said, I think having a community and support is definitely key when you're running a business as a solo founder, to support each other, to also, you know, confront each other on topics on strategy and things like that. But I would also say I think it is really important to not give up at the first bump in the road, because running a business, it is such a roller coaster. But I think you also have to go through a learning curve, and whenever you encounter difficulties, you can really learn a lot from it for your entrepreneurial journey. So I would say, yeah, don't give up at the first obstacle, and actually take it as a challenge to keep going, to troubleshoot, to probably make some changes or adapt your business, so not being too focused also on just one way of doing things, because this is all about adapting and changing and being flexible in the end.
Of course, thank you, Fede. And finally, Paul, question to yourself as well.
Yeah, similar theme really to what everybody's saying. One bit of advice: get help. Now that can come in various forms. I would definitely recommend getting yourself a mentor. I'm very fortunate. I have 3 mentors that I check in with a couple of times a year, and they can give me different takes and different advice on you know, certain challenges or things that are perhaps holding me back, whatever. But also build yourself a supportive network as well. There is a saying that your net worth is your network. So, you know, having people there to support and help you. And I'm going to give a plug here for Enterprise Nation. You know, they've got 70,000 members, like-minded small business owners like everybody else that's tuned in here today. But also there's a network there of over 12,000 advisor members like me who, you know, were advisor members with a specialism and they were there to help. So certainly something like Enterprise Nation would be a great one-stop shop for somebody starting a business where you're going to get that support and that help. And then, as I said, in your travels, try and sort yourself out a mentor as well.
One. Thank you, Paul. And we've run out of time, but I will squeeze in this one question from Dylan. Best advice for finding the right mentor?
Right. Yeah. It's you've just got to do the rounds, you know, go to the events, put yourself out there, be active on social media. And then if you find somebody that's aligned with yourself, that's got similar values, maybe they're in your industry, they're established, approach them. You know, you don't ask, you know, you don't get if you don't ask. And some people will put the time aside to help you. Others won't. If they won't, then you keep looking. And generally, if you look hard enough and long enough, you'll find somebody to help you.
Nice one. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for our panel speakers today. You can reach out and connect with them. If you just scroll up in the chat, I've either put their kind of website or their Enterprise Nation profiles as well. Thank you again, everyone. And next up, our next session is with Paul himself. So feel free to stick around for that. And of course, you can network with other people. We've got the freelance and side hustle area and 9 other stages as well. So yeah, feel free to have a wander around the virtual stages. Thank you to our speakers.